Emily Carter had always been drawn to the quiet corners of America, those forgotten towns, tucked between long stretches of highway and pine forests, where secrets lived longer than the people who kept them. But Willow Creek, Montana, was different from the places she had visited before. From the moment she stepped out of her car and into the stale, frozen air, she sensed something wrong, something heavy, something watching. The town looked normal enough at first glance. Old wooden houses leaning slightly from years of harsh winters, a diner that smelled faintly of burnt coffee, a lonely gas station with a flickering sign. But the silence hit her like a physical force. There were no kids playing, no radios humming from open garages, not even a dog barking. Just the sound of wind pushing dead leaves across the cracked pavement. She tightened her coat and walked toward the sheriff's office. Her boots echoed sharply with each step. Even the echoes felt like they didn't want to be heard here. Sheriff Tom Grayson looked older than he was, gray around the temples, tired eyes, shoulders slumped as if carrying a burden no one else could see. He slid a stack of thin case files across the table. 14 missing persons, all locals, all vanished without a trace. No bodies? Emily asked. Tom shook his head. Not even a scrap of clothing. Emily flipped through the photos, her stomach tightening. Every face stared back as if pleading for answers she didn't yet have. Then Tom quietly placed one last picture in front of her. It was grainy, taken from a trail camera deep in the woods. Something tall stood among the trees. Something human-shaped, but not human. It had the outline of a person, but stretched, distorted, like a shadow that didn't match the body casting it. No eyes, no face, just darkness folded into the suggestion of a figure. Emily felt her throat tighten. What is that? Tom exhaled slowly. We don't know, but it's always near the place we call Forgotten Hollow. She repeated the name under her breath. Forgotten Hollow. It felt wrong even saying it. Tom rubbed the bridge of his nose. We've tried bringing in outside help. No one stays longer than a day. They always say the same thing this town feels. Oft Emily could relate. The air itself felt heavier here, colder, as if the place was exhaling slowly around her. She spent the rest of the morning walking along Main Street, interviewing anyone who would talk to her. But most people avoided her, slipping behind doors the moment she approached. The few who did speak offered nothing more than polite smiles and vague answers. People leave sometimes, a store clerk told her. You know how it is in small towns. But their eyes said something different, fear, not indifference, as if speaking about the missing was dangerous. When she approached an elderly woman named Martha sitting on her porch, the old woman's hands trembled before Emily even asked a question. You shouldn't dig around here, Martha whispered. Some things are better left alone. Emily crouched beside her. Ma'am, 14 people are gone. Their families deserve answers. Martha's eyes darted toward the forest like she expected something to step out at any second. Child, the problem isn't finding answers. It's remembering them. Emily frowned. What does that mean? The old woman leaned closer, lowering her voice to a shaky whisper. Here, we forget things on purpose. Faces, names, the ones who vanished. We don't keep pictures. We don't say their names out loud. If we remember them, he remembers us. Emily froze. He, Martha's breath quivered. The one who lives in the hollow. Before Emily could ask more, a sudden knocking sound cracked sharply behind her 3 hollow taps against wood. She jolted and spun around. No one was there. But on the window behind Martha, a faint fogged imprint of a breath slowly evaporated. A chill crept up Emily's spine. Did someone just? Martha shook her head violently. Don't look. Don't speak. Don't remember. The old woman abruptly got up and retreated inside her house, closing the door with a trembling hand. Emily stood frozen on the porch, the air suddenly colder around her. She felt exposed, like something was focusing its attention on her from somewhere unseen. Hours later, after sunset, she found herself driving toward Forgotten Hollow. A journalist's instinct should have told her to wait until morning until she had a partner or backup, or at least a clear head, but something about the hollow felt like the core of the story, like everything she needed to know waited beyond those trees. She parked her car and stepped into the forest. The moment she crossed the tree line, the temperature dropped. Her breath came out in heavy white puffs. The flashlight beam skimmed over trunks carved with strange symbols, circles, spirals, long claw-like scratches that didn't look made by any animal she recognized. Every now and then she swore she heard someone whisper her name, Emily. She spun, flashlight trembling in her hand. Who's there? Nothing. Just dark trees stretching endlessly. Then she noticed something half buried beneath dead leaves. An old wooden box. Its surface scarred with deep grooves as if someone trapped inside had clawed desperately to get out. Her pulse hammered as she pried it open. Inside was a torn scrap of paper. Faded, frantic handwriting scrawled across it, "Don't remember my name. Don't speak IT. He comes for the remembered." Before she could process the words, she heard it footsteps slow, heavy, coming from behind her. Emily lifted the flashlight with shaking hands. Between the trees, a figure stood tall, thin. Wrong. It wasn't a man. It wasn't an animal. It was a shape cut out of the darkness itself. Its body was long and rigid, like a shadow that refused to lie flat on the ground. It had no face, but somehow she felt its attention, sharp and cold as a knife, locked on her. Her chest tightened painfully. The figure took one step toward her, silent but impossibly fast. Emily dropped the box and ran. Branches whipped her arms and face. Her breath rasped as she stumbled through undergrowth, flashlight bouncing wildly. Behind her, the forest groaned like something massive was moving through it. She didn't dare look back. She didn't stop running until she burst out of the tree line and collapsed near her car, shaking so violently she could hardly breathe. Later, Tom Grayson listened to her story without blinking. "You saw him," he said quietly. Emily nodded, her hands trembling. Tom's voice was flat and grim. His name was Elias Granger. They say he was burned alive in that forest in 1956 for practicing rituals he shouldn't have. But he didn't die, not all the way. Now he feeds on memory. The more we remember those he took, the closer he gets. That's why the town forgets. Emily's blood ran cold. She whispered, barely audible, "I saw him. I remember him." Tom's jaw tightened. "Then he remembers you too." The night Emily disappeared from the sheriff's office, Willow Creek felt stranger than ever. Even the wind had stopped moving. The trees outside the old Willow Creek Inn stood perfectly still, like they were listening, leaning slightly forward as if waiting for something to happen. Emily sat on her bed, laptop open, pages of notes scattered everywhere. She kept replaying her conversation with Sheriff Tom Grayson. Every word echoed inside her skull. He remembers those who remember. She didn't want it to be true. She didn't want to believe that the shadow she'd seen in the hollow Elias Granger was something real. Something alive, something ancient that fed on memory. But the more she tried to convince herself it was nothing more than fear and imagination, the more vivid the memory became. It wasn't fading. It was growing sharper, as if something wanted her to remember. Outside her room's narrow window, the fog rolled in thick, heavy, swallowing the parking lot until even the nearest light pole disappeared. The power flickered, dimmed, then stabilized again. Emily rubbed her eyes and turned back to her notes. Each missing person's name felt like a weight pressing on her, like whispering ghosts asking, Don't forget us. The clock on the wall ticked loudly. Each tick seemed slower than the last. Then came the knock. Soft, barely audible, but unmistakable. 3 slow, deliberate taps on the window. Emily's chest tightened. She froze, staring at the thin curtain as it swayed slightly, even though the window was closed. Her heartbeat thudded in her ears. She approached carefully, each step making the wooden floor creak under her weight. She pulled the curtain aside. No one was there. But on the glass, a breath mark slowly appeared, forming a blurred oval against the cold surface, and then dragged through the fog for long streaks slid downward, like someone had drawn fingers across the window. Her stomach knotted. She staggered back, nearly tripping over the edge of the bed. The lamp beside her flickered violently, then died with a faint pop. Darkness swallowed the room. Emily grabbed her phone, fumbling to turn on the flashlight. But the moment she did, the beam reflected something on the door. 4 new streaks. Claw marks too long to be human, engraved into the wood, as if something outside the room had dragged its nails across the door, slowly, patiently. Her breath came fast and shallow. She whispered, "This isn't happening." From the other side of the door, something exhaled slow and deep, a breath so cold it seeped through the cracks around the doorframe and crawled across the floor like fog. Emily stumbled back until her shoulders hit the wall. She clutched her phone tightly, knuckles white, and forced herself to breathe normally. Minutes passed with no sound except her own frantic heartbeat. Then, silence shattered. A voice whispered inside her room. Not outside the door, not from the hallway. Inside her room, barely human, stretched, hollow like someone forcing words through a throat that no longer existed. Emily. She dropped the phone. The screen cracked as it hit the floor and rolled under the bed, leaving her in near darkness. Only the faint glow from the window offered any illumination. She didn't want to look. She didn't want to see. But fear made her turn her head. A tall, slender shadow stood beside the bed. Its body was rigid, bones too long, posture too still, like something trying to imitate a human and failing. Its presence filled the air, pressing against her lungs, suffocating her. "Why?" The voice rasped. "Do you remember me?" Her throat went dry. She couldn't speak. She couldn't even breathe. The room felt smaller, shrinking around her. The shadow began moving, not walking, but gliding, its limbs bending at unnatural angles, head tilting slowly as if studying her. Emily bolted for the door. Her hand barely touched the knob before an icy force slammed it shut. The entire building trembled, dust falling from the ceiling. She felt something near her ear, like cold fingers brushing against her hair. Once remembered, the voice whispered, "You are mine." She tore herself away and sprinted toward the window. She grabbed the curtain rod with both hands and yanked it down, shattering the glass as she tumbled through it onto the cold, wet ground outside. The impact knocked the wind out of her, but adrenaline pushed her back onto her feet. Fog engulfed everything. The inn behind her looked abandoned, its windows dark. The streetlights flickered, struggling to stay alive. Emily ran blindly, her breath ragged, legs burning. She didn't know where she was going, she just needed to get away. But Willow Creek wasn't letting her go. Every direction she ran, the fog thickened. Houses vanished behind curtains of white mist. The streets looped unnaturally, turning her around even when she tried to go straight. Shapes moved in the fog, faint outlines of people. Their bodies twisted, their mouths open in silent screams. Faces she had seen in the case files, the missing. Their voices layered over each other. A haunting chorus, "Don't remember him. Don't say his name. He wears our faces. He took us because we remembered." Emily staggered backward. "Why are you showing me this? What do you want me to do?" A whisper floated through the fog. Forget. But another voice, deep, rumbling like earth shifting, answered from behind her. Remember. She turned slowly. Elias Granger stood inches away. And this time, he had a face. Not one, many layers of faces stretched across his head like melted wax, screaming. Gasping, fused together, eyes frozen open. She saw men, women, teens, every missing person from Willow Creek, their faces overlapping in grotesque contortions. And in the center of that mass of torment, a new shape was forming, her own. He reached for her, fingers long as branches, joints bending the wrong way. She felt her memories slipping, her childhood, her family, her own name being pulled from her mind like threads unraveling. No, she gasped. Stop, please. But he didn't stop, because that was the curse. Elias didn't kill. He erased, and once he took someone's memories, the town forgot them too, until they became nothing but another silent face on his own. Emily felt herself fading. Her vision blurred. Her thoughts cracked apart like thin ice dot, and then she was gone. 2 days later, Sheriff Grayson wrote the report. Emily Carter, missing. Last seen near Forgotten Hollow. The townspeople did what they always did. They removed her picture from the inn. They emptied her room. They never spoke her name again. And at night, in the thick fog, a new voice whispered from the hollow. Does anyone remember me? Elias Granger smiled in the darkness, wearing a new face, hers.
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.